Hello, everyone. So great to see everybody. I see everybody jumping in. How is everybody tonight? I see y'all are cold. I see you're feeling under the weather. I'm so sorry, but I'm so glad you're here. We have a lot to show and tell tonight, that's for sure. How was your weekend? It seems just like yesterday we were here doing a show and tell last week. Y'all see what's behind me? I'm having fun this week quilting this quilt. I can't wait to show you the video on Friday. We're about 5 minutes early, so we're going to give everyone a chance to come join us so we can just chit chat for a minute. Have some water. How is everyone doing? I hope y'all are ready for some awesome pictures tonight. We have 26 show and tells this evening and one topic. And then I have a fun, very easy challenge for this week. Although I've had a lot of fun seeing everyone's first time photos this past week. We have some things to share this week for show and tell that was a first time for someone. That was a lot of fun. I almost participated in this challenge. However, I had a tooth pulled on Friday. Was going to do a root canal, and then things change. So ended up having this tooth pulled, and it was a horrific day at the dentist. And I'm still recovering. So I'm still sore. Hello, everybody. So I was going to do some screen printing on Saturday, and I did not feel like it. And then I was going to do some screen printing on Sunday. Didn't feel like it. And then I said Monday I would do some, and I still did not feel like it. So I missed out on last week's challenge. Maybe this coming weekend I'll feel better and can do some experimenting with some screen printing. Sharon, this is your first time watching us live. I'm so glad you're here. Everybody else, it's so great to see you too. Our group is growing and growing. The last time I looked, we were over 2,400 members. That would make me so nervous if everyone was watching all at the same time. So yes, 26 show and tells this evening. Some really awesome projects to show. And then one topic. And then yes, a very easy challenge this week. I don't think anyone's going to have a problem participating in this week's challenge. So if you have to leave before we're done this evening, I hope you come back and watch us on the replay and see the challenge for this week. It'll be at the very end. And if you're watching and you happen to see a little live button in one of these corners, you're catching us live. If you don't see that, you're watching the replay, but I still hope you read all the comments, join in the conversation, and make yourself at home. We're so glad you're here. If you're happening to catch this on YouTube's, we love you. We're so glad you're watching along. Feel free to comment down in the comment section. We're still 2 minutes early. I'm going to give us 2 more minutes before we get started. I'm ready. I have my long sleeve shirt on because I'm chilly this evening. There's a draft that comes through this little storage door, and I stuffed some pillows at the bottom, but I still feel really drafty right here. Dun, 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 dun. Do you ever run out of things to say? I do know that it's really awesome to see everyone. Oh, here's something that I got to do, and I think you're here, Miss Kitty. I got to FaceTime with Kitty this weekend. That was so much fun. We got to have conversation face to face, and I walked her through some computer stuff that she had questions about. We got to hang out this weekend, so even though we live far, far, far away, it was like we were sitting in the same room. That was so much fun. I think Kitty, yes, she has some pictures in tonight's show and tell. Hello, Miss Juanita. Hello, Melissa and Rhonda and Evelyn and Jan and Maureen. Maureen, I just want to start tonight by saying thank you so much for helping me moderate this group. We are growing by leaps and bounds, and I cannot do this by myself, so I'm very thankful for you. Ooh, Linda is making meatloaf and chili for tomorrow. Her sons are coming over. Aw, I love it when my kids come for dinner. I enjoyed it too, Kitty. It was like we were in the same room hanging out together. All right, y'all. It is 8 o'clock. We're going to switch some screens around because I have a ton of pictures to share with you tonight. And it's going to be so much fun. I'll tell you, I'm always amazed by the level of creativity and skill of our members here. And I love that we get to showcase it in this group. When I created this group, I didn't want this group to be about me. So I'm just kind of like a sideline watcher. And I get to host a place for all of you. And I love it. So I'm really thankful y'all are all here and that you share so freely. I think that's awesome. We're going to go ahead and switch some screens around and get ready to jump right in. Just know that I see your comments scrolling through, and I say this every time we're live, but I might miss your comments, and if I do, I'm really sorry. I certainly am not meaning to ignore you. All right. We have switched around, and let's see, tonight we are starting with Diana. Let me find her stuff. All right, y'all, Diana has 2 photos we're going to start sharing in just a second. Aletta says, I had my root canal about 3 hours ago. So far, so good. I got my sewing machine back from the repair hospital. Missed it so much. Miss Oletta, I'm so sorry you had a root canal. Mine's a bit of a long story. They wanted to remove bone and send me to the periodontist and remove some bone around the tooth for my root canal. Not doing it. All right, we're going to jump right in. See, I get sidetracked. We're going to start tonight with Miss Diana. And so check this out, y'all. She says, my accomplishment this week is called Twisted. And I am going to use this design on my granddaughter's graduation quilt with 18 years of her pictures. And that will be sublimation printed and heat pressed onto white t-shirts. Miss Diana, are you sublimating these pictures yourself or are you having it done? If you're doing it yourself, I would love to have a conversation with you because I'm looking at converting an Epson Artisan into a sublimation printer. We'll see. Something I'm contemplating. Anyway, that's so interesting. When are you starting this quilt? I'm very curious. So you've been testing this out. The pattern is called Twisted. I have the pattern in a picture that she submitted. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. It reminds me of a quilt. It might be the same quilt, but I bought a book from Joann's. It was a t-shirt quilt book several years ago. And they had a quilt very similar to this. If it's not the same one, I cannot quite remember. But wait until you see the pattern because this makes a really interesting and fun t-shirt quilt to look at. So let's go ahead and pull up her second picture. Here we go. I'm going to have to pull that book out wherever I've stashed it because this looks like so much fun, right? It certainly adds a lot of interest to the t-shirt blocks. And I love that it has two little borders around it. And you can take, let's see, 12 shirts and turn it into an amazing quilt. So yes, I'm so glad you shared that pattern name with us. And I'm really interested in your sublimation. So I would love it if you got with me and sent me a message and told me all about it, if you're doing it or if you're having someone else do it for you. Oh, here you are. I have the tees, the fabrics, the stabilizer, and we're in the process of picking pictures now. Joyce, I see your question about fleece for sashing. I usually use cotton on the front of my shirts. Not to say I wouldn't use fleece, I just never have. I have used fleece for the back of my quilts before, but I have not used it on the front. I think if I found a fun fleece fabric that I wanted to use, I'd use it. So Miss Diana, are you sublimating these pictures yourself or are you having someone do it for you? I'm curious. I might have missed it on the messages. All right, I can think of no better way to start tonight's show and tell than with a t-shirt quilt, because y'all know they're some of my favorite quilts to do. I'm glad you sent that in. Next, we have another Diana, and we have two pictures to share from her, and guess what she has? A t-shirt quilt with sashing and cornerstones. Y'all, the buffalo plaid on this quilt is to die for. I love it so much. I think it adds so much to the t-shirts in this quilt. Now, in case y'all have missed it, I just posted last week a tutorial on how to do a t-shirt quilt with sashing and cornerstones. If you want to check out that video, it's on my channel. Walk you step by step. It makes the quilt look a lot more complicated, but it's really simple. So if you've never done a quilt like this, you could check out that video. Diana says a local shop in our town will sublimation print them. That's so awesome that you have someone locally that can do that for you. Belle says, what type of batting do you use in your t-shirt quilt? If you're asking me, Belle, I usually use an 80-20, but I've used all kinds of battings. I've used all cotton, I've used all polyester, I've done 2 layers of 80-20 to give it, you know, some really weighty substance to the quilt and some really depth in the quilting. So I've used everything, but I prefer to use 1 layer of 80-20. Right now, my current favorite one is Fairfield from Joann's, but I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to brands, but I really like an 80-20. Warm and Natural is really good too. So this is your first picture, and she says, I'm halfway through quilting it, and then she sent an after picture. And I'm not quite sure if you're going to be able to see the quilting. I hope you can see it. If you look really close, you see the texture and dimension, especially in the lighter blocks like the gray ones and the white one. You can see the quiltiness in the t-shirts. Now, if you want to really look at this picture and blow it up big on your screen, you can check out our announcement at the top of the page, go through the comment section and find the picture, and then you can open it up and really zoom in on the pictures. But yes, I think the buffalo plaid really makes this quilt something special. Ella says, which of the grids do you use the most? I would say the 2-inch grid. Today I did an Inkscape live tutorial and we planned out a collage style quilt using the 2-inch grid, and we planned out a crib size quilt with 20 shirt logos. So if you haven't checked that out, you can check that out. But yes, the 2-inch grid is so versatile. The only issue that you might run into is a bunch of partial seams, and the smallest pieces being 2-inch, 2.5 by 2.5, adding to your quilt. But if you're okay working with small blocks, possibly, then the 2-inch gives you a lot of cutting options. The next most popular one for me is the 4-inch. It still gives me a lot of cutting block sizes, but my blocks, the smallest one would be 4.5 by 4.5, and it's a little bit easier and quicker to assemble a quilt like that. So yes, Miss Diana, I'd like to know, because if you said I missed it, who this quilt is made for, but I love it. I'm so glad you shared it with us this evening. T-shirt quilts right off the get-go. Y'all are speaking my love language. Next we have Mrs. Carol, and she has a lovely quilt to share with us tonight. Let's move over there. And she says, this was made for my son 48 years ago by his grandmother. It's tied. A lovely keepsake. I would say it is so lovely. And let me just tell you, there is something to be said about tying a quilt. I have a quilt that's tied. It was the biggest, my first biggest quilt. Like if you watch my trunk show video, the quilt is in there. I've since gone back and free motion quilted that quilt because I didn't tie it very much, but I really loved it when it was tied too. I wish I would have tied it this much. I would not have had to go in and quilt it more, but I love it so much, and 48 years is a true testament that tying your quilt works, right? There is the proof, and it's lovely. I love it. What an awesome keepsake that is. It's like a, let's see, it's a legacy that will be passed through your family, Miss Carol. I'm so glad you shared that picture with us this evening. I want to keep it on the screen for just a second more. Wouldn't you love to know the history of the fabrics and all that stuff? I think that would be so interesting. Diana said it's a commission quilt from a husband and wife's alumni. These were fraternity and sorority t-shirts. The red and black are Texas Tech school colors. That's so interesting. That's awesome that you have a commission quilt. Yes. Yes, Carol, you can see the detailed, see how detailed the ties are. I love it so much. Thank you so much for sending that in. Next, we have a really fun project that we get to share. And this is from Mrs. Irene, who says, we had to put our sick little 12-year-old Boston Terrier, Rocket, down in October. It broke my heart. In his honor, I made a quilted wall hanging of him. How awesome is that? I used a cross-stitch conversion I found online. Each square was cut 1 inch. Wow. They are 1/2 inch sewn together. Wow. I will put the original photo of Rocket in the following post. And I have Rocket's photo, and I want to do a side by side because I want you to see how accurate this quilt is. Y'all look. Look how good she did. Oh my goodness. So Miss Irene, I'm not quite sure if you're here. Maybe if not, you'll catch this on the replay. But I would love to know more about this. So it sounds like you had, let's see, a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I would love to know the program, the cross stitch conversion that you found online, if you want to share that with everybody. Because how amazing is this quilt? I love it so much. It is incredible, right? Wow. I mean, the talent that we have in this group just blows my mind. Every day I'm like, wow. And I'm friends with these people. I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. I'm so sorry to hear about your puppy. It's an awesome tribute, and you'll have it forever. And I can think of no better way than to remember him by having this wall hanging. I'm so glad you shared that with us. I know, everybody, right? Melissa, I'm amazed that I'm friends with all these talented people. It blows my mind. All right, now we're going to share a quilt from Miss Faith. Let me pull that up on the screen. And I have a second photo from her as well. So first we're going to look at this lovely quilt. Finished the sampler quilt I was making just using up scraps. The dogs have already claimed it on the bed. It is nice and toasty and I really love it. Made by me from start to finish, including the quilting. Yes. Had fun making this bag. So the next picture is a bag. We're going to see that in just a second. But let's take a look at her sampler quilt. Don't you love it? And the dogs have claimed it. It is theirs now. I think it's so fun to look at all the different fabrics. I'm wondering, are some of those fabrics like clothing scraps that you had? It kind of looks like some of them are some plaids from some shirts. I could be wrong. I love using clothing in my quilts whenever I can. I love your sampler. You did such a good job with the quilting too. Next, let's take a look at her bag, which really just blows my mind. Y'all know that I've been wanting to make a bag sometime this year. Lord knows we've had like 12 different kinds of bags shared in our lives just so far this year. This is another one. This one kind of looks like it has a pocket in the front, which is really handy, right? Faith, was this your first bag? I'm not sure that you're here. If you are, was this your first bag? If you're catching it on the replay, I'd still like to know. You did a good job. I know, I have to make one. I have to make one. Thank you so much, Miss Faith, for sharing your 2 pictures with us. I'm so pleased with your quilt. I know you are too. Y'all look at this. Miss Tracy has 2 photos to share with us this evening. Another t-shirt quilt. This is a collage style t-shirt quilt. Look at all the different size blocks in this quilt. I love it. She says, this is the front of a t-shirt quilt I did for my nephew. He loved it. I know he had to. And this is the label and the backing fabric I used. That's going to be photo number 2. I'm 1 week post knee replacement. Miss Tracy, I know. How are you doing? Did you finish this quilt since you've had your knee replacement done? I'm not sure that you're here, but wow, how I hope that you are recovering well. I'm amazed by your quilt. I love looking at all the different logos. Yeah, I know that he loved this. This looks like a quilt. I probably would have laid it out just like that. It looks like there's a pocket right underneath of the Islanders block on the right. I could be wrong, but I love adding pockets on my quilt. Yes, this looks like it was so much fun to make. These are some of my favorite with the blocks all different size. Jan says the bags are easier than you think. We'll see. We'll see about that. I hope so. All right, let's take a look at her label. So this is the label and the backing fabric that she used. Isn't that so nice and neat? And I love the animals on the backing fabric. Let's see, there's a little chicken and a pig. Is that a lamb? And a dog? Or a cow? That's fun. It also looks like it has like postmarks on it too. Tracy, I'm so glad you shared this quilt with us. What are you going to work on as soon as you can get back to it? And have you started, let's see, physical training with your knee? When my dad had his knee done, he went to physical training and it helped a lot. And he's getting around great now, so thank you so much for your update. And I love your quilt. Next we have a picture from Miss Melissa. Melissa, I just mentioned your quilt today during my video. If you want to share this quilt in Friday's video, let me know. I have your picture. I can add it to the slideshow. She says, I'm working on picking out border color and background fabric so I can finish up my Happiness is Homemade quilt. I am loving it. Me too. I was talking about the blue scrappy fabrics today in the quilt video for Friday. I'm in the middle of quilting mine right now, and I'm filming that video, and I'm right in the middle of the video. And I was talking about how if you wanted to add pictures to the slideshow, and I was sharing the email, and I said I saw a picture of a blue scrappy one on our Creative Crew group. Oh, yay, I can add it. Okay, let me write a note. Let's see, add. Y'all give me a minute because I'll forget. All right, I'm putting that in my Happy Planner. I'll add it to the slideshow. Yes, I love it. I hope you are so proud of yourself with this quilt. I am tickled pink about it. I just love, and I'll tell you, I love all the blocks, but my favorite on your quilt is the A for apples. There's something about that blue plaid fabric with the apples that I love so much on your quilt. So yes, I'll add it to the slideshow. I'm so glad it's in tonight's live video. Thank you so much for sending that in. I want to make sure I'm not skipping anybody. Yay! Next we have Miss Rhonda, and Rhonda has 5 photos we're going to take a look at. All right, y'all, here's something different, and I'm so excited to share this because I I think I have them in order as they go. I think. But y'all watch the progression of this project. She says, I went way out of my box. First, Rhonda, I just want to say I'm so proud of you for doing that. She says, my neighbor's daughter was going to winter dance and the dress she has was so itchy because of the tulle. Asked me if I could fix it. I said, I have never done it, but I'll give it a try. Yes. I rolled it by hand with a glue stick and did good. She did it like English paper piecing. Now, I've tried sewing clothing. Granted, it was a long, long time ago, but I just could not get results that I was even remotely pleased with. So my hat's off to anyone who makes clothing. Let's watch as her project progresses through. So this is her first piece. And then she's working through the pieces of the pattern. And here it is coming along. Look at this. I bet this was so cute on your neighbor. Next, it looks like she's added a little bit more. Don't you love the edge of this dress at the bottom? I bet you Bethany would love to wear this dress. And here it looks like it might be all done. I'm hoping I got this in the right order. I think I did. Maybe. I'm not sure. I might have those out of order. But yes, look at all of the work in this dress. Chantel, there's Friday is the Happiness is Homemade video. Comes out Friday morning. And at the end of that video, I include pictures of any blocks for the Happiness is Homemade quilt. You can check out last week's video. There's an email address if you are working on that quilt and I want to include pictures of that quilt in Friday's video. Yes, I love this dress. It looks so girly. Rhonda, I am so proud of you for going outside of your comfort zone. You did it. You accomplished it. I would love to see pictures of her wearing the dress. You don't necessarily have to share them in a live video, but if she lets you share them in our Creative Crew group, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this project with us. Y'all see what I mean by the talent in this group is just blows my mind. Next we have Miss Evie, and I have two pictures to share from Miss Evie. And she says, I had never heard of couching, but I tried my hand at it and put together a bee quilt using Lisa's bee pattern. I wanted to do my own flower design so I could use my orange peel template. I think that's so creative. I am not finished with the wording, the binding, or the quilting. I am also going to redo the couching because I don't like the color I used, but here it is so far. So have y'all gotten your, it's a free quilt pattern. It's folded up over there. I would get it, but then I'd have to get up. But there's a video on my channel. You can grab that pattern for free. Just to let you know, the pattern's like 27 pages long. It was one of my first released patterns. I'm sure there's ways I could have condensed it, but it's free. And the video is on my channel. And there's also, I talk about that quilt. We do freezer paper applique with that quilt, but yes, I love how you did your own version with the flower and incorporated the bee in there, and I love that you tried the couching. Now I do have a picture of your updated couching, and it's a little bit closer up so we can really see. Let's see if I can make it even bigger before I pull it up. Give me just a second. I'm going to make that picture a little bit bigger before I pull it up. There we go. So here's her couching. The little bee trail is done in yarn, and she sewed it to the background fabric for her bee quilt. I think you did such a great job. And I love the thickness of the yarn. The trail really sticks out on your quilt. Don't you think that's so much fun? I had never heard of couching either. And then about 2 weeks before I got my long arm, of course I was watching every YouTube video that I could find, trying to learn what to do with a long arm before it showed up, right? And I came across couching with a long arm, and then couching with sewing machines. You know, I was really just searching for anything couching because it was so fascinating. And I didn't even know that it existed, but they've been doing it for years and years. I love the dimension that it adds to a quilt. So if you've never done couching before and you have some free time, look it up on YouTube's. Thank you so much, Evie. I hope you update us on your bee quilt when you get it done. I'd love to know what you decide to do with the quilting, what your backing look like. I'd love to see more of your quilts. Next we have Suzanne's picture, and she says, just an update on my Vincent quilt. The top is done and ready to be taken to the quilt shop for quilting. That's so exciting. I did learn something new when putting my blocks together, and so if you starch and iron your fabric before you cut your pieces, the blocks will be different sizes than the ones you piece and then starch and iron. So lesson learned. I never noticed that before. That's so interesting. I don't know that I've ever paid attention to that before. Has anyone else ever realized that? Maybe because I don't use a lot of starch just in general. I use it, but not a lot. So maybe that's why I've never picked up on that. But that's interesting. Your quilt is an eye catcher. I love all of the primary colors that you've used in this quilt. I cannot wait. Whoever gets to quilt this is going to have so much fun, whoever you're bringing your quilt to. And I hope you share pictures when you get it back. I'm excited to see it. And I'm so proud of you because I think, if I remember correctly, you're new to doing applique, right? Am I thinking correctly? I'm thinking I remember that you were new to doing applique. And look at this quilt, y'all. You did such a great job. You're going places, Suzanne. If this is one of your first applique quilts, can't wait to see what you do next. Next we have two pictures from Juanita. And Juanita's here, so Juanita, we're getting ready to pull your stuff up. Now here's something that I've never done, is make curtains. However, one of our creative crew members, Anya, she made some curtains when she moved into her house. Juanita says, hi everyone, this is the first time I made these curtains. I made them for my brother. After I got started on the first panel, I realized that you should hem the side of the curtains before you hem the bottom. So I learned from that mistake. Made 4 panels at 40 by 70 and 2 that were 22 by 70. First, I just want to say, I think it is human nature for all of us to learn as we go. I kind of like learning these things as you're making projects because you tend to remember those things when you make a little mistake. And it's something that will stick with you the next time you make curtains, right? But just looking at your curtains, I would never know that any mistake was done. So yes, you made the curtains for your brother. I think that's awesome. I have one more picture to share. And these must be the hems on the edge. Look at this lacy fabric. I bet these curtains allow just the right amount of light into the room. They're so pretty. I don't know if I want to say pretty because they're curtains for your brother and he might want manly curtains. They're manly and elegant all at the same time. So you got them done. You can cross them off your to-do list. What did you think? Did you love making them? Would you make more? Are you going to make some for your house? Y'all know I always have questions when I see your pictures. But Juanita, thank you for updating us on your project, sharing them. She says, yep, and they were so easy after I learned not to make the same mistake. Yes, me too. That's exactly how I learn. That's how something really sticks with me, is usually after I mess up on something, it really sticks. And she says, yes, she'll make more. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Next we have Miss Janet. Janet has 3 photos she's sharing this evening. Wait till you see this. Ta-da! Here we go with some more sashing, y'all. That must be trending. Hashtag sashing. Is that how it works? I don't know. But yes, look at this. She says, I'll see a hand surgeon to schedule surgery on the partial tear between my fingers tomorrow. That's right. So you go tomorrow. So I'm needing to finish this baby quilt before the surgery. You're sewing still with your injury. It was all fabric from my stash. The backing is from a granddaughter's graduation quilt, and you're able to color on it. That's fun. I love the billions of bugs fabric. Wow. Oleta, I'm not quite sure why your comments would be freezing, hun, but if you maybe leave the live and close down Facebook and then jump right back in, maybe it'll unfreeze the comments. I'm not sure. Yes, so she has 2 more photos, and one is of the block up close, because I think Miss Melissa just asked about that. So here's one of the blocks up close. Yes, and you can see all the little bugs now, right? I love the snail. That is really fun fabric. I think that's a lot of fun to look at. The next picture, I believe, is the backing. Yes. So I think this is the perfect backing for this quilt, right? Black and white to complement the sashing on the front. So it has a lot of interest, but it doesn't really steal the show of the front of the quilt, but both sides are interesting to look at. I love this quilt. Miss Janet, I hope you keep us updated after scheduling your surgery and what the doctor has to say. I know you'll be glad when this is past you. Don't you love this fabric? Thank you so much for sending those pictures in. Let's see, we had Juanita, Janet, and now we have Jerry. 3 J's in a row. Our next picture, okay, we have several different slides from Jerry. We're going to start with the first one. And Jerry says, this is my first try at piecing a quilt. This was her first thing. I went small and did a patchwork mug rug. Y'all, you know I love this, right? You know I'm all about this. I think you did so good, Jerry. What did you think? Did you love it? I'm not sure that I've seen you come through in the comments tonight, so if you're catching this on the replay, I would love to know, what did you think? Did you love it? Next we have, oops, hold on one second. I was looking back through my pictures, and this is an Afghan sweater I did for my mom one year ago this month. It is a twisted stitch Afghan. Y'all, doesn't this look so comfortable to wear? I would love to wrap up in one right now. Jerry is here. You followed my tutorial and it was great. Yes, right? I'm so glad that that was helpful for you. Look what you did. You made that little mug rug. I'm so proud of you. Look at this. An Afghan sweater. My crocheting skills are nowhere near this level. Yes, I'd love to have one of those. I get chilly sitting in this room. All right, let's see what else. Let's see, that was 14. Then she has a stadium blanket for her Red Raider brother. This almost looks like fleece or flannel. Something soft and squishy. Very warm. I could use this too. I bet you he loves this, right? I think if I made that for Harlan, he'd be using it all the time. And let's see. We have one more thing to share from Jerry. And there's 2 photos of this. Y'all look at this. Who remembers this quilt? I see it every day in my bathroom. It has the perfect size wall for this. I've only gotten the borders pinned on so far. I am just putting yarn between the blocks, and I am making I-cord to separate the blocks from the border. I am trying with the idea of putting I-cord instead of binding, or maybe on top of the binding. So I think you can see what she's talking about at the very bottom edge. You can see it on the edge and right at the top too. So what do y'all think? Do you have any suggestions? Should she use that as her binding? I say go for it. I think that would finish off your quilt perfectly. I love this quilt so much. Are you going to get a tune from Harlan on the cello? I'm not sure yet. I don't know. Maureen, I don't know that I'm playing my violin either. Yes, this quilt, it looks just like stained glass. Okay, I did my colors all mixed in, but I noticed with yours, you did like all yellow in a diagonal row, and then red and blue. I love that so much. I love how you can take one pattern, right? And 20 people can make the quilt and have 20 totally unique looking quilts just by someone using their creative touches on that pattern. It's awesome. I'm so glad you shared that with us. I have one more picture of it. Let's see. Slightly different angle. And you can see the cording on the side a little bit and what it would look like at the bottom of the quilt without it. So if you have suggestions for Jerry, but I'm going to say go ahead and use it as your binding. I think it would be awesome. So yes, that was a lot of fun looking at all your projects, Miss Jerry. Guess what? We have 4 J's in a row because next we have pictures from June. It's the night of the J's. Thank you so much, Jerry, for sending in all of your pictures. It was fun to look at all of your stuff. Sharon, I don't know that you're going to hear a duet. We have practiced together, but probably not. All right, Miss June. Let's see, I get so sidetracked with the comments. I'm like, what are y'all saying? Okay, look at this. I saw this posted on the Creative Crew group when she posted this in our threads. Immediately I was drawn to the deep reds in this quilt. Have not started on Happiness is Homemade as yet. Finishing up on this applique quilt, her own design. Just let me say, June, if you were to release this as a pattern, I'd probably want to get it. Have you thought about releasing patterns? Because this is such an interesting, lovely quilt. I love the stars and the sashing. I think that breaks it up so pretty. And the cardinals, I love it so much. I love all the quilting that you're doing, the cross hatching, the free motion work, the lines straight stitched in the border is lovely. I would have put off my next quilt too to get this done. Yes, everyone loves the cardinals. So great job on this quilt. Take your time. That quilt is not going anywhere. The videos will be there waiting when you're done. So enjoy the process of this quilt. Y'all can go to the announcement and open this picture if you want to make the picture larger and actually see the details in the quilting. I like to do that. Next we have Sharon. Sharon's making a t-shirt quilt. And she says this is her something new. So she's doing the challenge from last week. She says, I am making my first t-shirt quilt. I don't know if y'all know how excited I get when I hear that. I want to make one for my son out of his high school and college t-shirts. So I decided to make a practice quilt so I won't ruin any of his shirts. Do you know how smart that is? That is so smart. I dug in the bottom of our dresser and pulled out shirts my husband and I no longer wear. I have just completed the top. Now, would you know by looking at this that this is her first t-shirt quilt? And what's really awesome, Sharon, is that you're going to have this quilt forever. And these were just shirts that were in the bottom of your dresser, and neither one of y'all were wearing them. Now you're going to have a snuggly quilt. Just by doing your practicing and seeing how everything goes, which is really so smart. But yeah, now you're going to have an awesome quilt for yourself. So proud of you. So I really hope that you keep us updated on this quilt, Sharon, and share your process with us. Do you love it? Do you hate making it? What are your thoughts? You know, your first t-shirt quilt is a good indicator if it's going to be something that you do more of or something that you're just not crazy about. And most people usually fall in love with the process, although I've met a lot of people who say, I made one and I don't ever want to make another. So I'm always curious and I ask that question. So glad you're doing this. Thank you for sharing. Y'all, I get so excited doing these videos, and it'll take me about 3.5 hours to calm down and go to sleep when we're done on Tuesday nights. And I'm not drinking coffee, I'm drinking water. Next we have a picture from Donna. And this is a Valentine's wall hanging. Was so much fun. This was from the Cupid box from Fat Quarter Shop Pitter Patter. I think I watch a YouTube channel that does the boxes from the Fat Quarter Shop, like they do a reveal. I could be thinking of something else. It might be something else. But I think that's what she does. Now I have to go double check that when we're done tonight. But look at this quilt. Isn't that fun? Yes, can y'all believe today is the 28th. We're almost into February. That's crazy. Oh, Sharon says, for all the sweet comments, thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait to finish this one and start on my next one. That's what I was wanting to hear, Sharon. Yes. Miss Donna, I'm so glad that you shared the pattern and where you got it from. If you want to check out this pattern, you can visit the Fat Quarter Shop. It was in the Cupid box from Fat Quarter Shop. I am assuming the name of the pattern is Pitter Patter, right? So all of this was in a box, right? I'm going to have to look into these boxes. There's already lots of people doing, like, let's open this box kinds of videos. I'm not interested in doing that. I just want to get the boxes. Thank you so much, Donna. I think you've just started my next little adventure into these boxes. We'll see. Next we have a show and tell from Carol. Carol shared this picture with us, and she said, this is called All That Glitters. I made it for my granddaughter for her wedding. Isn't that so awesome? You know her granddaughter is going to have this for her whole entire life and pass it through her family. I think that's amazing, Carol. And I'm sorry, I was just looking at all of the different patchwork in your quilt. I know she loved it, right? I think that's so much fun to look at. And I see lots of quilting. I think it's a very, very pretty quilt. I'm so glad you shared that with us. It's called All That Glitters. Is that the name of the pattern, or is that what you called your quilt when you were done? Sometimes I do that. I make up names for my quilts, but I'm always curious, is that the name of the pattern or what you called the quilt? Next, we have a show and tell from Ellen, who says, I have this quilt and it is amazing at how it was made. This is a 100-member family quilt made by Chinese hands. I don't know a lot about it, but I've seen a video on how they're made. I bought it at the Salvation Army store and wanted to share. What a find, right? I always have my eyes open when I go to the DAV or Goodwill, you know, any of those places. But wow, can you imagine finding this when you go in? I think that's fantastic. I love the colors. Y'all give me just a second because something went wrong with my video. I want to make sure we're still going. Oh, Carol says that was the name of the pattern, All That Glitters. It's quite shiny, doesn't show in the photo. Yes, she loved it. Oh, I would have loved to have seen the shininess. You're right, that did not show up in the photo. Ooh, a shiny quilt. I would have loved to have seen the video, Ellen. Ellen, if you have a link to that video and you can share it in the Creative Crew group, I would love to go and watch that video and see how this quilt was made, just to learn some history behind it. I think that would be fun for everybody to watch. And what a good find. Yes, I would have grabbed this right up too. Next, we have a picture from Debbie, and then I do have a couple more pictures in just a minute from Debbie as well. So for her participation in last week's challenge, she said she's putting, my new thing to do this week is putting furniture together. She's not quite done. I saw your progress yesterday, I think it was, and you had had a long day, and you're trying to get this put together. She's going to love her new bedroom furniture. I would be so excited if I was her. So how's it going? I think today is the next day. Is it together yet? That was my question for you. And we have more of your pictures coming up in just a minute. But yes, everybody's doing all kinds of new stuff this week. Next we have 4 pictures from Darlene. Y'all look at this quilt. It reminds me of the quilt that I made from my Nana's clothes. It also reminds me of a commissioned quilt that I did a couple of years ago. The quilt looked a lot like this. Not exactly like this, but it just has that same feeling of just, you just want to snuggle in it, right? A lot of the same colored clothing was in that quilt. I love this quilt so much. She says, memory quilt and bear finished and shipped to my cousin-in-law. Both were made with her mother's and my husband's aunt's clothing. We'll hopefully get some pictures of her opening it, as she is going to FaceTime me when she gets the package. Oh, yes. I love those kind of photos. If you get to watch it in FaceTime, I think that would be so special. You know, be able to see the reaction. I just did a FaceTime with Miss Kitty the other day, and yes, it works really well. So I hope that you do get to FaceTime when she opens this quilt up. I have a couple more pictures to share. This is the label on the back of the quilt. Made from clothes I used to wear. Hold it close, you'll know I'm there. Aww. That is so nice. Y'all, don't you love the backing fabric on this quilt? And look at her binding. Her binding is on point. You did so good with that. I love your quilt label. You know, I love doing embroidered labels that are absolutely perfect, but there's something about handwriting on a quilt label. It's a personal touch that nobody else could do because no one writes like you. I love it. Let's see, we have another picture. This is the bear in the back of the quilt. Eee, look at the little bear. And I have one more picture of the bear right here. And she wrote on the back of the bear as well, when hugs from mama are what you need, grab this bear and give a squeeze. Now I want to make a bear. Every week. I'm so glad you shared this, Darlene. I hope you get to do the FaceTime and watch the reaction. I hope you do. Let us know if you get to or not. All right, we're going to come back to Miss Debbie, who has a few pictures to share with us. So here's two different projects. The first project, she says, here's another first for Debbie. She says, first time ever making a corner-to-corner blanket. I was intimidated by it, but gosh, now I know what I've been missing all this time. Congratulations, you did it. Good for you. I love that yarn. Which yarn is this? I would love to know. Look at you doing all kinds of new stuff this past week. Next, she says, my friend put this quilt together, but she has no clue how to do the binding. She asked if I could do it by Friday. Oh yeah, no problem. I'll do it by Friday. The red is the binding. Oh, the red's going to go perfect as the binding. And you know what? The quilt's on the smaller side, so yeah, you could do that by Friday. It's going to go perfect on this quilt. That's a fun little quilt, right? Spider-Man. So yes, you're going to be busy. I'm so glad you're sharing all of your new stuff with us this week, Debbie. You'll have to let us know how the new bedroom goes. Let's see, our next set of pictures comes from Sue, or she has one picture to share with us, and she says this is her last project. Her machine is going in for a yearly tune-up. Isn't this awesome? An ABC quilt. Mrs. Sue, I'm not quite sure. I can't remember if you're here. Is this a pattern that you purchased, or are the letters on the fabric already like little panels that you sew together? I think this is adorable. So your machine is going in for the yearly tune-up. How long is it going to be gone? Here's something. So we'll do a little confession. I've never taken my machines in for a tune-up. Does that make me a bad machine mother? Hello, honey. I see you're watching. So yes, this was your last project before it's gone in. How long will it be gone? Now I'm curious. I guess every shop is different on how long they keep your machine. Our last set of photos come from Miss Kitty. Y'all just trying to make me make some bags this year. Every week I see the bags. I'm like, oh, I want to make the bags. Okay, so Kitty says, hey, Lisa Lou. I am late sending this. Sorry. You weren't late. The purses I made this weekend, I watched Jenny Doan on Missouri Quilts to make the smaller one, and I watched the Sewing Room channel for the bigger orange one. Very easy to follow them. The quilt I made for my son for Christmas. We're going to see her quilt here in just a second, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. So I've made some totes, and they look very similar to the one that you watched, Missouri Quilts. My totes look very similar to that. I love that style bag, right? You can fit all kinds of stuff in there, but then look at your orange one. So that one was from the Sewing Room channel. I'm going to have to look that up. Let me write that down. Sewing Room channel. Don't you love your bags, Miss Kitty? I love them. Let's take a look at your quilt. Y'all, she's been making some quilts this year. The quilts I made for my son for Christmas. I will start this week a pouch with a zipper. It will be my first zipper to install, so we will see. Don't know yet if I will post a picture on that one. Post a picture. I really love the fabrics in your quilt, Kitty. So it seems like everyone this year got quilts for Christmas at your house. Thank you so much for y'all sending in your pictures. I have to say, you know, especially if it's something you've never done before, it takes a lot of courage and bravery to submit your pictures. And I'm just so happy that all of y'all share your stuff, because I'm going to tell you, seeing your pictures, every single one of the pictures we shared tonight has made me excited, and I've sewn for a long time. So I just want to let you know that you are sending inspiration out there for other people. And so thank you so much. That was a lot to share tonight. And I'm just so proud of everybody. I really am. So we have one topic this evening. wow, Debbie's already finished with the Spider-Man binding. And it's only Tuesday. I'll tell you, she does not sit still for nothing. She is always doing something. All right, we have one topic tonight, and it comes from Miss Bonnie. And we're going to talk about this for a little bit, and then I have a challenge. So it is 9:09. If you have to leave before we get to the challenge, make sure you come back tomorrow and watch the replay. I'll be sharing this video on YouTube tomorrow, and it's usually published by lunchtime. Depends on the morning and how it goes, but you'll be able to find it in two places, here in our group and over on YouTube, so you can check out the challenge. So for tonight's topic, it comes from Bonnie. The screen always does something really weird there when I do that. Bonnie says, I don't know how many beginner or new quilters are in this group, but if you could kind of touch base on the changing of color of certain fabrics when ironing, and maybe what can be done to protect fabric to keep it from bleeding when washed, that would be great. So yeah, Bonnie, I saw your post the other day, and I commented on there, and you've gotten a lot of feedback on that post, which is awesome. So thank you, everybody who commented on Bonnie's post from the other day. That tooth. It's not the tooth, my jaw. So yeah, let's talk about it. I think that's a great topic, because what you noticed with your fabric, what Bonnie was saying in her post, in case you missed it, or if you're watching over here on YouTube, is that she was a little stressed because she bought this really great fabric. It was red to go into a quilt that she's making. And when she pressed it, she noticed that the red changed colors like really drastically. And so she had questions about that. So let's cover that first, because I think a lot of the feedback that you got on that post in our group is exactly the same thing that I said. And I have noticed that reds and oranges and purple fabrics, when you touch them with a hot iron, they do change colors. And at first, yeah, you're like, whoa, what is happening? A lot of t-shirts will do that too. I'll never forget, one of my first commissioned t-shirt quilts I was doing was a Virginia Tech shirt, or Virginia Tech quilt. The colors are maroon and orange. I went to press on some interfacing on the back side of an orange shirt, and it changed colors like night and day. And I was so stressed out. A couple minutes later, the iron mark was gone, and it went back to its original color. And I think that's the nature of the dyes when they are touched with the heat, that they change the colors. I personally have never had a red, orange, or purple fabric that when I touched it with an iron, the heat from the iron permanently changed the color. And that's just me. But you know what? After seeing you wanted to talk about this tonight, I did some research on Google. So if you type in Google, why does red fabric change when using an iron, all kinds of posts pop up, different forums and threads that you can read, blogs, and it was pretty unanimous. And I spent about 25 minutes reading through 3 different forums. It's pretty unanimous across the board that the reds and purples and oranges change color with the iron, and then they go back. So I don't know that you really have to worry about that so much. However, if you're just starting out with a quilt and you're touching it with an iron and it's not coming back to its original color, then you might want to pick a different red fabric. Next, we can talk about, I don't know what that was. two products that I wanted to show you. Now this is a video on YouTube, and I want you to go check this out. It's from Man Sewing. So if you have not seen this video yet, go to YouTube and in the search bar type in Man Sewing. Or you could also type in retain, because when I type that in the search bar, this is one of the videos that comes up. And I want you to watch this because he's going to talk about two products. One is retain and one is synthropol, which I'm probably not saying that correctly. What's new? Anyway, one of them, the retain, prevents the dyes from running, and the synthropol reverses color bleeding. They do two different things. So watch this video. He'll talk to you about what each one does and when you should use it. And those products can be found on Amazon. I bought some retain for my printing photos on fabric, and it works really well. And I think I got the big one. I forget how many ounces that was, and it was under $12. And you can put a cap full in the wash and pre-wash your fabrics before you even mess with them if you're worried about a red bleeding onto other parts of your quilt. And that goes for oranges, purples, you know, green, whatever fabrics you're using and you're worried about it bleeding down the road. Check out these products. He's going to show you how they work, just like a science experiment, right? Now, if you're on the braver side, I don't pre-wash any of my fabrics, not even the reds or maroons or purples. Maybe I've gotten lucky, but maybe these really, really work the way that they say that they're supposed to. The shout color catchers. And you know what? I might get a little overboard with this, but I wash my quilts in cold water, and I throw about 6 of these. And the only thing in the washer is my quilt and 6 color catchers, and I don't have a bleeding issue. And I do a lot of Virginia Tech quilts. Sometimes there's a brand new shirt that's never been washed in there, and those like to bleed maroon. The color catchers catch it. Now, like I said, if you are really, really worried about the fabrics bleeding, go ahead and pre-wash them. Pre-wash them with some shout, or go check out those two products in the Man Sewing video. I think you'll find it really interesting, and those products go a long ways. So while, yeah, it's like 12 bucks, $12 or $14 for a bottle, you get a lot of use out of them because you're only using a cap full at a time. Yes, we have some pre-washers, we have some non-pre-washers. Yes, the color catchers have always worked for me, but I wanted to pass these tips on to you, and I wanted to de-stress you a little bit about the red fabric when you touched it with the iron and it got darker. Go back and look at it now that it's cooled off and see if it didn't revert back to the original color. I think that's scary for a lot of people, especially just starting out, who doesn't realize that that happens. And they press their red or their purple fabric and it's like 10 times darker. And they're like, what happened? But once it cools off, it usually reverts back to its original color. All right, that is everything for this week. Wow. We did pretty good, an hour and 19 minutes. Cheryl says I usually will use 3 to 4 color catchers in a load. Ella has noticed that the reds change color when she applies some heat to it. Susie uses color catchers. They work great. Jeannie says she pre-washes her fabrics. Barbara says all her batiks bled. I soaked the fabrics for days and refreshed water and laundry with everything to rid of bleeds, but haven't had the courage to cut and use. Maybe, Barbara, go check out that man sewing video and look at the retain or the other one. That might work. Batiks are famous for the bleeding, right? Color grabbers. Linda, I use color grabbers too. If they don't have the shout, they usually have the color grabbers. I get either one. I'm not partial to either one of them, but I usually throw 5 or 6 of them in with my quilt. Jeannie says dark blues bleed awful too. Yes. Yes. So Bonnie, I hope that helps answer some of your questions on ways to reduce the bleeding. And I hope that settles your mind a little bit when you notice your reds or your purples, oranges changing colors when you press them. They should go back to the original color. I hope that helps, sweet person. I just wanted to hug you the other day when I saw your message up on our group. We have all had days like that. I think one of the best things that you could have done is just when things start happening and you start feeling a little, anxious about this and that and this and that that's starting to happen, is just to cut everything off and go do something else for a little while and just take a break from it and walk away. And you'd be amazed at how you feel when you come back to it, because usually things start working the way that they're supposed to, or you've regrouped and relaxed enough to focus on what you need to do to fix whatever's going wrong. I've noticed if I try to stay in that situation, that things just usually end up getting worse before they get better. Aw, Kitty, you missed your show and tell stuff. You'll have to go back and watch the replay. We're close to the end now. I'm getting ready to pull up the challenge for this week, so you don't have long to wait to see your bags. Everyone loved them. And your quilt. It looks like your house, it was the year of quilts at Christmas time. Everybody got a quilt, which was probably the best Christmas ever. Okay, for the challenge this week, we're going to keep it really simple. The last 2 weeks, we had you making something or doing something. We're going to go back to a sharing challenge this week. And we're going to keep it simple, but this one is a lot of fun. And I feel like we're going to get to know you so much better with this challenge. So this week, share a photo of something you collect and post a photo to our group. Now, some of you collect one thing. Some of you collect 3 or 4 things. And then there's going to be some of you who have like 20 different collections. Share what you want to share. We'd love to see it. I ate chili for dinner, y'all. Oh, I'm suffering. Yes, I can't wait to start seeing all these pictures that come in. I'm hoping that we have a lot of participation with this challenge. All you really have to do is share stuff that you love, right? If you're collecting it, you more than likely love it. And yeah, so we can't wait to start seeing you share that stuff. Connie wants to know, does the dust count? If you turn the lights down low, we probably won't see it. What is a batik and how is it different from quilting cotton or cotton poly blends? Batiks are, uh, that's a good question because I don't really know how to answer that one. If anyone has a really good technical answer for that, if you could share it, that would be great because my mind is on overload. There we go, Ella. It is quilter's cotton. They just mark it with wax before they dye it, I believe. That's what Ella says. Yes, okay, that helped me answer that question, Ella, because I was drawing a blank there for a second. I don't know all the answers all the time, and so I'm so glad that I belong to a family who can help answer some of these questions. Double-sided, usually for batiks. Yeah, you could use both sides. Does your fabric stash count? I have a ton of Christmas prints. Yes, you collect your fabric, right? If you want to take a photo of your stash, that would be fun to look at. So yeah, wow. I can't wait to start seeing these pictures. Multiple dyes and wax. Jenny Bayer did some good YouTube videos on batik production. That's so good to know, Maureen. So yeah, go search up Jenny Bayer and see if you can come across that. Darlene uses color catchers, and she loves them. Me too. So Ella says she's not 100% sure, but she believes that's how they do it. I think you're right, Miss Ella. I'm pretty sure you're right. So yes, this has been a lot of fun this week, y'all. So much fun. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that everyone collects the dust. I don't think we're going to be going. I see dust on her knickknack. She doesn't clean her house. No. I don't think we could really care less if it has a little dust on it. Share your pictures. So, what does the rest of your week look like? I'm in the middle of quilting this quilt and making that video. I get to add Melissa's picture to that slideshow. That'll be fun to add that in there. And Ella says she's trying to think of something I collect. Chantel loves this challenge. I hope you get feeling better soon. You've been sick for a while. Sharon says, I've enjoyed my first live. Y'all are such a great group, right? I love this family. Maureen says she collects dog fur. Jeannie says, I have so many dust bunnies. I name them. Melissa says, who has time to clean? I'm sewing. Ella knows what she collects. Okay, we're curious. Barbara says, I don't have time to clean house. I sew. Right? Jerry says, if I cleaned house, I wouldn't have time to sew or knit. You can't have that. Agreed. Connie says, I collect a lot of things. It's called hoarding. She always cracking me up. I hope so too, Chantel. I hope you get feeling better quick. If you have pain in your ear, I know that hurts. Aletta says, my first time live as well. What a wonderful group of quilters. I think so too, right? Melissa says, I'm debating between pictures of goats or fabric or Pyrex dishes or canning jars. Do a collage picture. I have an app on my phone that does like a collage where you can do like multiple photos and put them into one. That would be like a quilt of pictures. Linda says, I always pre-wash and put white vinegar in softener dispenser for the rinse cycle. Sometimes after washing, I decide not to use a fabric if it doesn't come out nice. That's smart. Ella says, I plan on getting some ink for my printer and possibly making a design in Inkscape and printing it on fabric. Yes. Jeannie says, I live in the desert. All we have is dust. Y'all are so much fun to talk with. I could probably sit here all night and talk with y'all. But I mentioned it earlier, usually after I'm done, I'm so excited from looking at all the photos and just getting like all these ideas that it usually takes me a good 2 to 3 hours just to chill out when we're done, because my mind sits there and just races as I'm trying to fall asleep. And I'm like, I want to make a bag. I want to make some bears. I start making up patterns in my head, and I've never even sewn a bear before. So yes. Juanita says, I bet we will see a lot of cotton collectors. I bet we will. I bet you're right. Ella, you've been playing around with Inkscape for the past week. I'm going to tell you, have you seen the video that I did? Were you there? I have a hard time remembering who was there. But yes, okay, so before we close, I did, if anyone's interested, okay, back up a little bit. On my Lisa Capen Quilts Facebook page, I like to post updates of the quilts I'm working on for 2 reasons. One, I like sharing with everyone who follows me on that page. And for 2, because my clients like to follow the progress of their quilts being made on my page. They love to see the updates of their quilt. They feel like they're in the loop. They get excited to see how it progresses. So that's a little bit of advice before we leave. If you're making quilts on commission, you really should have a group page. Even if you're not doing it as a business, have a group page and share the progress of your quilts being made with your clients, because they love it. They love to see what happens next and to see it come to life. So yes, I post for everyone who follows me, who wants ideas and stuff, and I post them for my clients. Anyway, back to when I do that, sometimes I have my grid that I'm following along that I've designed in the pictures. And so many people have asked me, what program do I use when designing my quilts, like the collage style quilts? I use Inkscape. And so I showed in a live tutorial today how I use Inkscape to do that. And I used the 2-inch quilt grid. We did a crib size quilt, which was like 38 by 48, I think, something like that, with 20 shirt logos. So yeah, and I used I don't have it anymore with me, but the t-shirt quilt planner and the 2-inch quilt grid. And we sat down in Inkscape and designed a quilt. Jerry says, I'm still working through the snowman Inkscape tutorial. Someday I hope to be able to actually use it for a design I have in my head. Yeah, I hope you do too. If you have questions about it, you know, send me a message, or you can go to that video and type your question in the comments section. I get notified when someone leaves comments on my videos. And so, yeah, I'll get notified if you do that, and I can go and answer your question. Everybody that's leaving, Chantel, I hope you feel better. Melissa, good night. That's a good idea, Chantel. Use my journal to empty my mind so I can just let it go. Get it out. Jan just started collecting different patterns. Diana said, I sent you a PM with my grandson's graduation quilt with sublimation printed pictures. I can post in the group also. I'm sure everybody else wants to see it if you are free to share it and you want to. Good night, Jerry. Yeah, if you want to share that, I'm sure everyone else would love to see it. I want to see what the sublimation photos look like. And I'm also curious, what fabric did they get printed on? Is it polyester? Is it a blend of polyester and cotton? Yeah, I could have a whole sublimation conversation with you, but we won't do that tonight. I'll go look at your quilt though. All right, y'all. I've had so much fun talking with you tonight. I hope you have an awesome rest of your week. I'm excited to start seeing all these collections. I think we'll get to know each other so much better. See what we're interested in. Debbie says she has posted a picture of the finished Spider-Man quilt, so y'all make sure y'all go check that out. Juanita says, good night, everyone. See y'all next week, and I won't judge anyone as long as you don't judge me with collections. There's no judgment here. This is a judgment-free zone. You share away without any fear. Linda's praying for everyone who's not feeling well and that you start to feel better. Kitty, you are so welcome. I enjoyed our talk the other day. I hope we get to do it again. It was like we were in the same room, right? That was fun. I love the internet so much. It's awesome how you can talk to someone who's like half the country away and talk to them like they're in the same room. Ella says, I had my sister-in-law make some sublimation pictures for memory pillows. Really? Kitty, she says her collections truly are dust. All right. It's official. I'm going to start giggling and I'm losing my voice. So I'm going to go. I love talking to y'all though. I have to stop reading the comments or we'll be here 15 more minutes. I hope you have an awesome week. Come check me out on Friday. You'll see what the Happiness is Homemade quilt looks like, all quilted. I'm going to share Melissa's picture in that video. And maybe we'll go live on my Lisa Capen Quilts page. We'll see how my jaw is feeling. Maybe we'll do some screen printing sometime this week or this weekend. I've enjoyed talking to you so much. I hope you have an awesome night. I'm going to go write down all these ideas in my journal so that I can go to sleep. Hope you have an awesome night. I can't wait to see you next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.